We're installing new Dakota Lithium batteries in our boats here in Alaska, which means we need to make up some new battery cables. We need to connect these to our new Victron DC to DC chargers. So we need to put new battery cable ends on some 6-gauge wire. I like to do this all ahead of time. It's just a little easier to do it in the shop with this big crimper than on the boat. You just need a lot of room to operate this crimping tool. First thing we need to do, make sure we have the right lugs. So these are 6-gauge lugs. You can see, well, first of all, you can see my kit here. Got a little kit made up with a bunch of lugs in it. And I've got some 6-gauge 5/16 lugs right here. You want to make sure you use the right gauge lug. I've got 6s, 4s, 2s, all different sizes here. This happens to be a 6. Once we cut this sleeve off, this will fit down perfectly over that cable. And then these Dakotas have a bolt, actually, instead of a stud on there. And so this is a 5/16, fits perfectly into the end of that lug right there. So you want to make sure you have those two numbers correct, the gauge wire and the correct lug size for your bolt or your stud. Now we're going to go ahead, get my glasses on here. And there's a couple different ways to cut the sleeve off. Either use a construction knife or just your cable cutters. I'll go ahead and use this knife here. First thing we've got to do though is make sure we get the right depth. So we're going to set it right about there. You want that cable to fill up this entire tube right here. So we're going to cut it right about there, like so. We're just going to make a mark with the knife. We're going to go around nice and gently here so we don't cut through the wire underneath. And if you just press down instead of slicing, you'll get through there and get that sheath off. I'm almost all the way around right now. Let's work it off nice and gently. Look at that tinned copper underneath we're exposing now. Work it off nice and easy like so. There we go. And we just lost just a couple of strands and that's it. We don't want to lose too much of our wiring underneath. Okay, now we've got our cable end exposed. I'm going to go ahead and slide my heat shrink tube over that right now. Now this is a short run here, so you could actually come in off this end and slide it up. But let's say you have a long wire or maybe some heavy cable. You want to slide that on first, so I'll kind of slide it down like so. Now we're going to take that lug, we're going to very carefully slide it right over the end of that cable end. We want to make sure we don't get any of those strands outside the lug there. Then we're going to take our crimper here. And see, that's got a little bit of a flat spot there, so we can lay this flat. And you can see we have a gauge here over on the side. We can adjust this to any size cable right there. So, you know, there's 2 gauge. We'll go ahead and run it down to, let's see, right in there. There's 6-gauge wire right there. Now this is a little tricky. We've got to feed this in here sideways. We're going to go ahead and open this up like so. I'm going to feed this right in there. We're going to kind of press it up against the side. I'm going to get that pressed up against there. Make sure our cable is all the way in there and pull down nice and firm. And there we go. We've got a nice crimp in there. Look at that. And we don't need to do another one now either. I'm just going to straighten that out a little bit like so. We're good there. We're going to go ahead and slide that heat shrink tube up over the end. We don't want it to come all the way up to here. We don't actually want to cover any of this flat spot here where it's going to go over our stud or our bolt. We want to pull that back so it kind of covers right there. I'll go ahead and get this out of the way. And then we're just going to shrink that down with our heat gun. If you're on a boat, you can use a butane torch or even a little propane torch or something, but this heat gun works great for this. I'm just going to go ahead and work that down like so. Usually start at the top right here. That's sucking right down on there. And rotate it around. And it's nice to get all these done in the shop ahead of time. We go out and measure all the lengths that we need. We'll just go ahead and work our way right down. And that's going to seal down nice and tight for us. And there's probably, like anything, a bunch of different ways of doing this. This is just how I've been doing it for years. If you've got a different method, I'd certainly love to hear it. Seems to be a good method for me at least. These will last years on the boat. As long as you use good quality cable and crimps and shrink tubing, this seems to be a pretty solid method right here. Now you can see how we're going to just slide that bolt right over there like so. This will go right in the top of that battery. And you know, we're going to have probably 3 or 4 of these stacked up here, and then this end is going to go into this DC to DC charger, which is going to be mounted nearby right here. And we're going to trim some of this off, stuff it in there, crimp that down, get this whole system wired in. But in the meantime, we're going to get all these done, all these cable ends done, so we can just fly and we start installing our new battery system from Dakota Lithium. That's how I do cable ends. Again, please drop your comments and questions down below. I'd love to hear if there's a better method. But that's it for Live the Boat here. Thanks for stopping by. We'll catch you next time.